This is the first topic of the Chapter 8, Force.
这是第8章的第一个主题，力。
Force is a push, or a pull, upon an object.
力是对物体的推与拉。
With acting of a force, the object will experience the changes of its state. This means that force is something that able to make a change to an object.
借助力量，对象将经历其状态的变化。这意味着力量可以改变物体的状态。
The example of the change of state is from static state to being a moving state.
状态改变的例子是物体从静止状态变为运动状态。
When a force acts on an object, for example a push, to a ball, which is in static, the ball will start to move.
当力作用在物体上时，例如推向静止的球，球将开始移动。
A force able to change the state of an object, which is in moving, to being a static state.
力能够改变运动中物体状态，变成静态。
From a close to being an open state.
从关闭状态成为开启状态。
From an open to being a closed state.
从开启成为封闭状态。
From flat to being a dent.
从平坦状态成为凹痕。
Change movement direction of an object.
更改对象的移动方向。
The effect of a force is clearly described by Isaac Newton in his Newton's first law of motion. Sometime this is called law of inertia.
艾萨克·牛顿在他的牛顿第一运动定律中清楚地描述了力量的作用，这也被称为惯性定律。
Newton's first law states that an object will remain at rest, or in uniform motion, in a straight line, unless acted upon by an external force. There are three keywords in this beautiful law.
牛顿第一定律指出，除非受到外力作用，否则物体将保持静止或匀速直线运动。这就是动者恒动，静者恒静。在这个美丽的定律中，有3个关键字。
The first keyword is object. Object is referring to anything with mass. Mass is amount of matter, and measured in unit, kilogram or gram. If a thing is said to have 0 kilograms, it's mean that the thing is not covered in the law.
第一个关键词是对象，这里的对象是指任何具有质量的事物。质量是物质的量，单位为千克或克。如果说一件东西的质量为0公斤，则表示该东西不在法则考虑的范围之内。
The second keyword is remain at rest, or in uniform motion, in a straight line. Rest mean that the object is not moving. Uniform motion in a straight line is meant to the state when an object is moving in a constant speed and single direction. In this case, any change involved in either the speed or direction or both is considered as the change. Remain at rest, or in uniform motion in a straight line, is referring to remain in its original state. Rest, or in uniform motion in a straight line, are just two examples state of matter.
第2个关键字是保持静止或匀速直线运动。静止表示物体没有移动，直线匀速运动是指物体在恒定速度和单方向的运动状态。在这种情况下，速度或方向或两者都涉及的任何改变都被视为改变。保持静止或匀速直线运动是指保持原始状态，是原本该物体就在静止或匀速直线运动的状态。静止 或匀速直线运动只是物质状态的两个例子。
The third keyword is external force. External force is the force that result in the change in net force that act on the object. For example, an object remain in rest might due to four forces, A, B, C, and D, at which net force that act on the object is 0. But when an external force applied on same direction as force A, the net force that act on the object have a change. This change make the object to change its state from rest to moving.
第三个关键字是外力。外力是导致作用在物体上的静力发生变化的力。例如，物体可能由于四个力 A、B、C 和 D 而处于静止状态，因为作用在物体上的静力为0。但是，当外力被加在与力 A 的方向相同时，作用在物体上的静力会发生变化。这种改变使物体从静止状态变为运动状态。
We go back to the keyword 1, object. If the mass of the object is higher, the required external force must be higher to make the change occur in the object state. It is, the higher the mass of the object, the higher is its inertia.
我们回关键字1，对象。如果对象的质量较高，所需的外力必须更高，才能让对象的状态改变发生。也就是质量越高，惯性越高。
The Newton's first law of motion is the conclusion, come out from Isaac Newton. To describe the effect of force.
牛顿的第一运动定律是从伊萨克·牛顿得出的结论，被用作描述力的作用。
There are various type of force.
有各种各样的力量。
About the gravitational force.
关于引力。
Gravitation force is the force that act on the object with mass. When the object is located in gravitational field.
引力，当该物体位于重力场中时，是作用在物体上的力。
The gravitation force acts towards the center of the earth, causing all objects to fall to earth.
重力作用于向地球中心的方向，导致所有物体掉落到地球上。
The gravitational force causes the planets to move around the sun in their orbits.
重力使行星在其轨道上绕太阳运动。
The weight force.
重量力。
The weight force is the gravitational force that acts on an object. Please don't be confused between the weight force and the gravitational force. The weight force is the gravitational force.
重量力是作用在物体上的重力。请不要混淆于重量力和重力之间的区别。重量力其实就是重力。
It is towards the center of the earth, causing all objects to fall to earth.
它朝向地球中心，导致所有物体掉落到地球。
Normal force.
正向力。
The normal force is the force that acts against the weight force. When the object is located on a surface.
正向力是当对象位于表面上时，与重量相反的力。
It causes the object rest on the surface. The normal force is always perpendicular to the surface.
这会导致物体停在表面上。正向力始终垂直于表面。
Normal force is the reaction force to the weight or gravitational force.
正向力是对重量或重力的反作用力。
When the object is in free fall, the normal force is equal to 0.
当物体自由落地时，正向力等于0。
Frictional force.
摩擦力。
Frictional force is the force generated by two surfaces that contacts and slide against each other.
摩擦力是两个表面接触 并彼此滑动而产生的力。
Frictional force acts in the direction opposite the direction of motion.
摩擦力的作用方向与运动方向相反。
These forces are mainly affected by the surface texture and amount of force impelling them together.
这些力主要受表面纹理和推动它们在一起的力量影响。
Electrical force.
电力。
Electrical force is the force that act on the charge when the charge is fall in electric field.
电力是当电荷落在电场中时，作用在电荷上的力。
Electrical force will pull the positive charge toward the lower potential side.
电力会将正电荷拉向较低电势的方向。
Electrical force will pull the negative charge toward the higher potential side.
电力会将负电荷拉向较高电势的方向。
Buoyant force.
浮力。
Buoyant force is the force produced in fluids. When there is an amount of fluid displaced by an object.
浮力是在流体中流体对物体产生的力。当有大量的液体被物体排出时，浮力就此而产生。
Buoyant force act upwards, causing the object to float.
浮力向上作用，并导致了物体漂浮。
Elastic force.
弹力。
Elastic force is the force that generated when the object being stretched or compressed.
弹力是物体被拉伸或压缩时产生的力。
Elastic force enable the object to return to its original shape when the action force is removed.
当去除将物体拉伸或压缩作用力时，弹力可使该物体恢复到其原始形状。
Elastic force is acting in the direction opposite to the action force.
弹力的作用方向与对其施力的作用力方向相反。
Now, let's see the characteristics of force.
现在，让我们来看看力的特征。
Force is a vector quantity.
力是矢量或向量，就是有方向的量。
Vector quantity is the quantity with magnitude and direction. Vector is the quantity that have two dimensions, magnitude and direction.
矢量数量是具有大小和方向的数量。矢量是具有两个维度，分别是大小和方向的量。
Another type of quantity is the scalar quantity. Scalar quantity is the quantity with magnitude only.
数量的另一种类型是标量。标量数量与矢量数量不同，标量数量仅是有大小值的数量。
Example of the scalar quantity is temperature, energy, and mass.
标量的示例是温度、能量和质量。
Now, we talk about the measurement of force.
现在，我们来谈论力的量测。
Force is measured in SI unit, Newton, N. It is named after Isaac Newton, in recognition of his work on classical mechanics.
力以国际单位牛顿 N 为单位。他以艾萨克·牛顿的名字命名，以表彰他在古典力学方面的工作。
The weight of an object is the gravitational force that act on the object.
物体的重量是作用在物体上的重力。
1 kilogram object will experience 10 Newton gravitational force. This force is acting toward the Earth center.
1公斤的物体将承受10牛顿的重力。该力作用于地球中心的方向。
The weight of an object is equal to mass of the object, time, the gravitational acceleration. Gravitational acceleration is a constant value, it is 10 meter per second square. The weight of 1 kilogram object will be 1 kilogram, time, 10 meter per second square, it is 10 Newton.
物体的重量等于物体质量乘以重力加速度。重力加速度是一个常数值，它是10公尺每秒平方。1公斤物体的重量将是1公斤乘上10公尺每秒平方，就是10牛顿。
The weight of an object is equal to mg, where the m is the mass of the object, and the g is the gravitational acceleration, which is a constant value 10 meter per second square.
物体的重量等于 m 乘 g， 其中 m 是物体的质量，以及 g 重力加速度，它是恒定值，它是10公尺每秒平方。
From this formula, the weight of an object is directly proportional to its mass.
根据这个公式，物体的重量与其质量是直接成正比的。
Weight, or force, can be measured by using the spring balance.
重量或力可以使用弹簧秤来被测量。
Spring balance functions based on the principle of spring extension.
弹簧平衡功能是基于弹簧延伸原理。
The principle of the spring extension is, when the weight of an object increases, the length of the spring increases.
弹簧延伸的原理是，当物体的重量增加时，弹簧的长度增加。
Principle of spring extension state that the length increase of the spring is directly proportional to the weight.
弹簧伸长状态原理说明，弹簧的长度的增加与重量成正比。
This principle can be described using formula x equal to k times n.
这可以使用公式 x 等于 k 乘 n 来描述该原理。
At which, the x is the increment of length, n is the weight of the object, and k is the spring extension constant.
在此 x 是长度的增量， n 是物体的重量， k 是弹簧延伸常数。
Now, we talk about the action and reaction pair.
现在我们来讨论作用力和反作用力。
The objects in a stationary position will have action and reaction forces acting on it. For example, when an object is placed on a table,
处于静止位置的物体将具有作用在其上的作用力和反作用力。例如，当一个对象放在桌子上时，
the weight of the object will act upon the table's surface. A reaction force will be generated from the surface of the table.
物体的重量将作用在桌子的表面上，桌子的表面会产生反作用力。
It is normal force.
这反作用力是正向力。
For the object to able to stay in stationary position on the table.
为了使物体能够保持在桌子上的静止位置，
the weight of the object must equal to the generated normal force. At which, the weight of the object, Fw, is the action force. The normal force, Fn, is the reaction force. The action and reaction pair can be represented using formula Fw equal to negative Fn.
物体的重量必须等于产生的正向力。物体的重量 Fw 是作用力，正向力 Fn 是反作用力。这可以使用公式 Fw 等于负 Fn 来表示作用力与反作用力的对。
The negative sign on the normal force indicate that the normal force is acting in opposite direction of the weight of the object.
正向力上的负号表示，正向力作用于物体重力的相反方向。
The action and reaction forces come in a pair.
作用力和反作用力是成对出现的。
When the first object uses a force on the second object, the second object would also exert the same amount of force at the first object. But, in the opposite direction.
当第一个物体对第二个物体施加力时，第二个物体也将在第一个物体中施加相同的力，但它是相反方向的产生。
This explains why, when you do a pushing over an object, you will feel a force that react to your hand palm.
这就解释了为什么当您推动物体时，您会感觉到手掌有反应的力量。
The action-reaction pair phenomena is described by Newton's third law.
牛顿第三定律描述了作用力与反作用力对的现象。
Newton's third law states that every action of force will be accompanied by a reaction force of the same magnitude, but in the opposite direction.
牛顿第三定律指出，力的每一个动作都会伴随着相同大小的反作用力，但方向是相反的。
The action-reaction pair can be described using formula Fa equal to negative Fr.
作用力与反作用力对可以使用公式 Fa 等于负 Fr 来描述。
The following are phenomena of action and reaction pair.
以下是作用力与反作用力对的现象。
An apple is in a stationary state on the table,
苹果在桌子上处于静止状态，
at which the weight of the apple acts on the table.
在此，苹果的质量在桌子上施加了重量力。
At the same time, the table surface reacts with same magnitude of force. But, in opposite direction, this is the normal force.
同时，桌子表面就产生了相同大小的反作用力，但它的方向是相反的，这是正向力。
A toy duck floats on water,
一只玩具鸭在水上漂浮，
at which the weight of toy duck is downward to the water, which is the action force.
玩具鸭的重量是向水往下的方向施展，即是作用力。
Buoyant force acts upwards, which is the reaction force. Magnitude of weight is equal to the magnitude of buoyant force. It enabled the toy duck floating on the water.
这产生了向上的浮力，浮力是反作用力。由于重量相等于浮力，所以这使得玩具鸭漂浮在水上。
A fisherman rows a boat. When a fisherman rows a boat,
一位渔夫划船。当渔夫划船时，
the action force push the water behind.
作用力将水往后推，
The reaction force push the boat forward.
反作用力推动船前进。
The above mentioned is the full content of the topic 1.
以上是主题1的全部内容。